Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the Self Improvement Project. This week's podcast is going to be around the topic of purpose. And just before I go into what we're going to be covering and then the details of the podcast, I'd like to introduce to you a wee bit of a theme in regards to the podcast as it evolves. So I'd like to split the podcasts that I do into three different sections or themes as such. One of them will be around the topic of learning. So this episode, the episode around mastery, around ikigai, these are all themes that or episodes that come under that learn theme. And the purpose for this is just to explore topics based on research, ideas, um, pieces of writing on those, and hopefully opening your mind to the topics and how you can use it effectively. The next theme I would like to split it into is a discussion theme. So a few weeks ago, myself and Dan talked around Atomic Habits, and obviously it's a book, but the topic of habits was something that we discussed at great length, and this is something that is going to be a theme going forward, where we have a discussion-based episode. And the last theme is going to be a thoughts episode. So I've not done any of these yet, but they might be a wee bit more personal or a wee bit more relevant to any topics that are going on at the moment, or might be trending as such, and just my thoughts on those and how it relates back to self improvement. So, hopefully, to help you be able to see from a different perspective a topic that might provoke thought and how you can use it in the best way for yourself. So, that is, I just wanted to introduce that to you, to all you guys, just to make you aware of the kind of themes that I'm trying to get out of this podcast as well. So, would love your feedback on it, and if there's anything else that you think would be more beneficial for your listening, then I'd be more than happy to do so. So, on to the topic of this week, which is all around purpose. So, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be exploring the topic of purpose, and this is to help you become more aware of it, how it can be used more effectively by yourself, and what you can do to help yourself find your purpose going forward. So, I hope you're looking forward to it, and I hope that has already provoked an element of thought with yourself, has allowed you to start thinking about what you're doing on a daily basis towards your purpose, whether it's something you've not thought about before and what it might be, and hopefully again getting you to reflect on elements where you maybe feel that you have served a purpose or your purpose previously and how it made you feel. So I've taken a few different parts of research around purpose, and also some that I have personally enjoyed as well. And one of my favourite authors around the topic of purpose is Daniel Pink, who writes a fantastic book called Drive. It was released back in 2009, so in the grander scheme of things can almost be classed as an older book, but definitely resonates with the world today. And in regards to the writing behind this, it is regarding workplace motivation. However, there are elements of it that can seep into all aspects of life, which is important to be aware of as well. So Daniel Pink actually defines purpose as the yearning to do work in the service of something larger than oneself. Again, you can use this to think about how it impacts on your work and your career as such, and how passionate you are about to do the work that you do, the investment that you have on a daily basis, but also from a longevity point of view, how invested are you in the area that you work in? And again, importantly, is it something that you feel that you contribute beyond yourself? That there's almost an element of sacrifice that sometimes comes with that you know this isn't going to directly benefit you. It's not a selfish thing, but you are dedicated to improving that area for others. I also like the definition of it as the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning. We've all been in that position where we wake up and we dread the day, depending on what it is. However, purpose is that thing that gets you up in the morning to go and fulfill your purpose, essentially. And this also aligns quite nicely to one of the topics I talked about the other week called Ikigai, where there was all these different elements, those 4 elements that we use to contribute to our purpose, essentially, what we're looking to get out of our life. And understanding and being self-aware of what we love, combined with what we're good at, can definitely serve purpose. And I guess the cherry on top is that your purpose serves the world and it serves others. It serves a greater good. And this is so important to reflect and see how it really aligns with you, what your career has done to date, but also any other projects or hobbies that you have that you know contribute to a positive impact on the world. Now, I'm not scared to say that it's actually very difficult to discover what this thing is for you. Whether it's even one thing or a combination of things. I certainly believe that it evolves over time as your life progresses and changes with different circumstances. However, it's important to recognize that don't feel frustrated if you don't know what that thing or few things are. If there was a manual for this, you would use it, but there isn't. The beauty of it is that we all have different personalities and things that drive us and values and beliefs, and you're on a journey of discovery to finding out what that thing is and how you can not only serve yourself but serve the world around you. So some nice places to start will be some of the things that I touch on during this podcast. So one thing I do know that when you feel a sense of purpose on something you're working on, and when you feel that that thing that you're working on is purposeful to you, you slip into a state called flow. Now, flow is that optimal state of mind where you feel completely immersed in the task that you are doing, whether that is at work, whether that is doing something at home. I have commonly found this when playing sport. Just as an example, And it's almost a paradox, because you should feel this flow when time passes you by without you feeling it or noticing it. But obviously the paradox is you don't notice this until afterwards and in hindsight. So it's important to reflect on previous experiences that you maybe feel like you have felt in this state of flow. And the ultimate goal, I believe, is this is something that people should feel daily if they are fulfilling their purpose. An article by a man called Michael Chavez in Forbes then separates this element and topic of purpose into two different strands. This can be more aligned with your career, your work, your job, as he filters it down into individual purpose and organizational purpose. And there is a gap that exists between those two. So ultimately, you're trying to bring those closer together and bridge that gap, finding those links that bring the two together. And it's a very fine balance, knowing what matters to you and finding what in the organization that you work for that you believe in. So what values and beliefs do they have that you feel like you align with and you can see yourself doing every day? This is probably harder than you think. Unfortunately, businesses, organizations can sometimes have all the right intentions. However, the culture that exists does not align with that. And that's where it's important that you know where your values and your beliefs are to be able to marry up with those. Furthermore, another way to connect not just our understanding of purpose, but to connect our individual and organizational purpose needs, lie in two other areas that Daniel Pink also touches on in his book around motivation. And it's around mastery, which I talked about on one of the previous podcasts, and autonomy. So having that freedom to do what you want when you want. And this can filter into when we do our own purpose, fulfilling our own needs, but also understanding how that falls into play in our career and our role in jobs. So have we got things that we have mastered that we can fulfill during that time, and do we get that autonomy at work to be able to fulfill that purpose? And essentially, I guess it's all about thinking about how do they all complement each other. Now, maybe an example to give here when we're thinking about individual and organizational purpose is an example given in that piece by Michael Chavez. Now, he talks about, for example, hypothetically working for a pharmaceutical company. So your purpose for the organization, your organizational purpose would be to save lives. However, one of the drawbacks of this is this can be hard to consistently access on a daily basis to motivate yourself. If you're turning up to work every day to save lives, yes, your intention's fantastic, but it's near on impossible to use that as your go-to when things are getting, pretty tough. Especially if you need to do meaningless tasks to get there. So, your individual purpose maybe comes from a more humble place when relating to work. And going back to that pharmaceutical company example, it's potentially to simply contribute to getting the pharmaceutical products out of the door and to those that need it. So take a moment to think about how those two relate and how they both need each other in order to be fulfilled. And this is ultimately what could help bridge that gap between your organizational purpose and your individual purpose. And I'm sure there's examples where you can relate to this in your own career, but potentially in your own lives as well. So I definitely challenge you to discover what these are, how you can use them, how you can implement them, and some simple questions, I guess, to help you with this would be to ask yourself, what skills do I have that I can use on a daily basis to help others? And what impact do I want to have on the world? It's not an easy task, as mentioned at the beginning, to find your purpose. I think it's important here to take time to think, take time to write, and to reflect upon your previous experiences and ultimately where you want to go. And I think it's nice to finish with an important aspect of purpose, especially in times where it's sometimes difficult to see what is it that I do today that's going to ultimately be something that I look back on in 10 years' time and feel really proud about. So I think we need to tap into that curiosity of our purpose. And I think we need to make sure that it's important to recognize that if we don't take action on it to feed that curiosity, that we're never going to be able to truly understand, fulfill, or find our purpose. So I hope you enjoyed that summary around purpose, looking at exploring the topic a wee bit more and how it can relate to you, using it effectively just now, but also helping you simply find it going forward, especially as it evolves through time. If it's something you would want to share, please get in touch with me. I love hearing about all these sort of ideas, and I guess it's good for accountability as well for yourself. So thanks again for listening. I hope you have a great week, and I will catch up with you all next time. Cheers.